want to take a few seconds out to thank all the listeners. Unlike the government, we don't come and forcibly take your money and then use it against you. We don't come forcibly take your money and give it to private corporations. We ask you to buy the books and videos and materials at Infowars.com so we can operate against the big corporate media that uses your tax money against you. And we have the once-a-year money bomb. Second annual, raised $280,000 and a little bit more still coming in. And that will really help us expand everything we're doing, and I commend all of you. God bless you. You're going to see big changes in the next year like you've seen in the last. We're going to have our guest with us 5 minutes the next hour, so I can play a 2-minute clip, the clip he mentioned where the Solicitor General of the private Federal Reserve is asked where'd the trillions go, and she says, I don't know, which, of course, isn't true. But now we're openly not just seeing the government spend tens of billions a year for fake newscasts, buying reporters, these news packages that were secret. Now they're openly saying they're going to bail out the media. I mean, how about a bailout for the taxpayer, sir?
Well, exactly. I mean, particularly on this media question, how in the world could you possibly have a free media when they know they might have a chance to get a bailout? Who's going to want to criticize the government now if you know money could be coming if you shut up and toe the line? It's unbelievable that anyone could conceivably support this.
All right, I've asked all my questions. I know there's a lot of other points that are important. What are other areas? I mean, because you've got the evidence there and in your book of where they do things that make the economy worse.
Well, let me just first make a quick comment about the Inspector General of the Fed, the clip that you've got there. I think this, if you watch this woman, she genuinely, either she should win an Academy Award, or she genuinely doesn't understand this stuff. Whatever the case is, either she's a liar or ignorant, it shows an unbelievable contempt for the public. It really shows the Fed's total contempt that they would produce this woman who can't answer a single question or refuses to answer even the simplest sort of question. It's just astonishing. But my argument, one of my points in Meltdown, and incidentally, when we're on the media question, Meltdown has got a foreword by Ron Paul. The only person in 100 miles of Washington with any credibility on this is the New York Times bestseller for 10 weeks. The New York Times, my publisher tells me, has refused to review it, even though it is customary for them to review bestsellers. The book calls out the Fed and all this stuff. Anybody can get it, so they won't review it. The only other time they did review a book of mine was The Politically Incorrect Guide to American History, and I'm sure they realized that after they condemned it, everybody bought it. So needless to say, they can't mention it at all. But the New York Times, without some type of bailout, is clearly going down. I mean, they're going to need some type of bailout, and I hope it never comes. It couldn't be, it couldn't be more richly deserved. But one of my arguments, and it's not exclusive to me, is that the very existence of the Fed, the very fact that you have one, increases what we call moral hazard. In other words, it makes people do riskier things than they otherwise would do. And in particular, ever since especially the late 90s, when there was a hedge fund called Long-Term Capital Management. That's a bad name. You would not want this hedge fund managing your long-term capital. But anyway, Alan Greenspan bailed this thing out when things went sour.
Yeah, that was the mathematic geniuses that were invincible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so absolutely invincible, and then bang, the economy gave its verdict. Well, after he did that, of course, what did that make Lehman do? What did that make Merrill Lynch do?
Made him get 10 times more reckless.
Exactly. So, I mean, again, and then meanwhile, this is all blamed on the free market. No, we should blame it on the fact that we've got this monopolistic entity that is, and again, there is this sort of superstition that the Fed is there for the common person. Come on. It's there to bail out the big guys. That's why it's there.
Absolutely amazing. Final segment with our guest. We're going to come back, just play a minute or two of him asking her, and she's just bumbling around and can't answer anything. You'll hear a bunch of this weird corporate double speak about, is there a review of this? And that's coming up in 1 minute as we start the final hour. Stay with us.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
This is Alex Jones with 5 good reasons you should consider buying a solar power generator this summer. Number 1, new climate legislation could easily double or triple your electric bill. Number 2, our new energy czar wants to control how much power your electric company allows you to have. It's true. Total government control of electricity in the name of smart grid technology is coming. Number 3, In some areas of the country, the power grid is dangerously overloaded, especially with the high-demand summer months ahead. Number 4, the hurricane and dangerous summer storm season is here again. Every year, thousands of families lose their power from weather-related outages. Number 5, a solar power generator provides powerful backup insurance and peace of mind. Folks, I really believe in the solar power generators offered by Solutions from Science, a longtime sponsor of ours. You can get more information at www.mysolarbackup.com. That's mysolarbackup.com. Remember, the government doesn't own the sun yet. So go to mysolarbackup.com or call toll-free 877-327-0365.
Waging war on corruption. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
By the way, I have gotten so obsessed with the North Korea situation and Iran, and I forgot to get to our top story today like a fool the last 3 hours. The DOD training manual describes all protest, as low-level terrorism, and the Army's declassified documents that I am watched by the U.S. Army at my events, and so is Ron Paul. And Ron Paul just kind of nicely shrugs it off. But that's coming up. We have these In the Fed rallies. They have Army intelligence there. New breaking mainstream news. We'll cover that. And we've got just a few minutes left with Tom Woods, TomWoods.com, the Ludwig von Mises Institute, best-selling author. But let's go ahead and play just a minute or two of this clip. This is the Selector General, the investigator of the Fed investigating itself, bumbling around. Here it is.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Inspector Coleman, you are the Inspector General for the Federal Reserve, right? Okay.
That's correct.
Have you done any investigations concerning the Federal Reserve's role in deciding not to save Lehman Brothers, which led to shockwaves that went through the entire financial system?
In that particular area, I don't generally comment on specific investigations, but we do not currently have an investigation in that particular area.
All right. What about the $1 trillion plus in expansion of the Federal Reserve's balance sheet since last September? Have you conducted any investigations regarding that?
Right now we have a, we call it a review, and so I don't know if the term investigation may have different connotations. So we're actually conducting a fairly high-level review of the various lending facilities collectively, which would include the TALF, a variety of the different programs that are in process. So we're looking at them at a fairly high level to identify risk.
Well, I understand that, but we're talking about events that started unfolding 8 months ago. Have you reached any conclusions about the Fed expanding its balance sheet by over $1 trillion since last September?
We have not yet reached any conclusions.
Do you know who received that money?
We're in the process right now of doing our review, and
right, but you're the Inspector General. My question to you specifically is, do you know who received that $1 trillion plus that the Fed extended and put on its balance sheet since last September? Do you know the identity of the recipients?
I do not know. We have not looked at that specific area at this particular point on those reviews. And
what about Bloomberg's report that there are trillions of dollars in off-balance sheets transactions that the Federal Reserve has entered into since last September? Are you familiar with those off-balance sheet transactions?
I think it may be important at this point, too, just to bring up a certain aspect related to our jurisdiction. And just to...
All right, let's just go ahead and go back. The Inspector General has no jurisdiction over who the Fed's giving money to. In closing, Mr. Woods, your comments on what you just heard.
Well, when my wife showed this to me the other night, and I know there are a lot of us who would kill to have a wife who digs out anti-Fed videos, and I'm telling you, I got one. and when I heard this thing, I thought, this is the best video in favor of auditing the Fed I've ever seen. It's almost like, I made it, and she's an actress. I mean, it is astonishing that, as I say, either she's ignorant or she is sinister, but this is the person they put out when they know we've got serious questions. Well, my view is the party is starting to end. It's been almost a century for the Fed, but people are starting to cotton on to it, and it has not happened a moment too soon for me.
So it's not going to live to 100. It's 97, 98 years old right now, and it's time to fell this rotten tree that's endangering the entire house.
I'd love to do it. I don't know if we'll do it in time for 100 years. I don't know when it'll happen, but I do think it will happen.
Well, I hope it's getting long in the tooth. This parasite needs to be removed from it's like a 2-pound tick on a 1-pound dog. Meltdown, a free market look at why the stock market collapsed, the economy tanked, the government bailouts will make things worse. I look forward to talking to you again, sir. Amazing interview, TomWoods.com. Tom, thanks for spending time with us.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Amazing having him on. Oh, very informative. So that's the answer to all you out there that think we need to have more government as the solution. Now, I agree with Tarpley. If we're going to have trillions spent, might as well give it to the people. But that's not going to happen. We'll be right back.